Hey everybody, I'm Greg Soul and welcome to another CIQ demo. Today I'm going to be showing you what actually comes back from a webhook that's called from GitHub, right? So you have the ability in your Git repository in GitHub that if you make a commit or I think a push action, or there's several options in there. If you actually make a commit, it will send a webhook, which essentially it calls your sender server and allows you to call a job template and perform an action. But what information is actually coming through there? So really quickly, just to show you how to set it all up in one of your job templates, what you would do is you would enter that job template, hit the edit menu, and then at the very bottom you have enable webhook. So this essentially turns that functionality on. Here for webhook service, you're going to choose GitHub or GitLab. They're both a little bit different on the format of the information being sent over, but as soon as you do save it, it will give you a URL that you can use for your webhook, as well as a key to authenticate in via that webhook. Well, how do you set that up on the GitHub side? Well, in your repository here, I just picked a random one. You go to the settings button right there, and then if you look over here on the left, you have a webhooks menu. So in here, I can click add webhook, and it allows me to fill that in, right? So the URL that it provided me, I can paste that in, as well as I think this is JSON, application JSON, I believe is what we set that to. And the key that it supplied us is what we put in there for the secret. So here, kind of the default of just the push event is fairly common to have in there. And you click add webhook and you're done. So as soon as you make an update to that repository, it's going to pop over. So here in this example, I have a playbook called, I think it's webhook test, and I have it set up in here. And in my webhook test, it's actually really basic. So first, what it's going to be doing is printing out the entirety of the payload, and that comes in by default as a variable named AWX webhook payload. And then after that, I'm going to be printing out just the files that were modified. So let me make an update to that repository, and it should fire off that job. So I'm going to be making an update so that it'll show multiple playbooks being updated, or I guess multiple files in this case. So I've got a test file. I'm going to modify that, save it in my webhook. I've got a variable here just that I can save that so you can see it update. We have updates to files. Let me commit that. Synchronize those changes. Now that they are synced, I should pop over to the job menu and I should see, there it is. So I've got it set to update on launch, and it's going to update the repository right there, and then it's going to fire off the webhook demo. All right, now that we can see it's complete, I'll enter in and I'll pop by default into the output section, and let's take a look. So I'm going to click for more information. I'm going to click on this this very first one where it really just dumped the payload variable out, the AWX webhook payload. As you can see, it sends a lot of information. So I get the author, so who actually made the commit, as well as you can see modified here. That's going to be my files that were actually modified, but then you get timestamp information. And I believe I actually get message information. Yeah, there's the message information as well. I almost always put DD in here when I am just making quick modifications. Don't be like me, actually put useful information. But you can see a lot of good info associated with all of this stuff. So what can we actually use this for? Right here, I've got an example of what are the very individual playbooks that were modified. You can see I have webhook test.yml on that one, and then test right here. So that means I could loop through looking at the various files that were actually modified. And I've used this actively in one of our lab environments where we did configuration as code on our border router. And so what we would allow people to do is go in and configure a file that was like dns.yml. And they could update their DNS entries, or nat.yml, and they could do a NAT entry in there, or you could do firewall.yml, and that would be firewall entries. So it allow people to go in there and update the individual file. So I need a new firewall entry for my server. I'd go in there, I would update that file. As soon as I commit it, it would go into the Git repository. Now in that repo, we had it set up so that somebody else, one of the admins, so myself or Jimmy, would have to go in and approve it. So we'd just take a quick look at the configuration, we would approve it, and then that would call the webhook, hit a sender, and it would automatically update that border router. So it would push those firewall changes or that NAT entry. Now you could do it one file at a time. So say, for example, I just updated a firewall entry, then it's only going to connect in, it's going to see, oh, the firewall.yml file was updated. Let's call the task file that actually has all the firewall update entries. But if I did a firewall and a NAT simultaneously, guess what? It's going to loop through. It's going to see both of those files, and it's going to make those updates. I've also done this for configuration as code demos. So I had a web server that would be pulled from a Git repository. You make an update to that, it would actually call into my vCenter. Well, it would call a sender. A sender would call into my vCenter. It would spin up a new VM and put web server on there, get everything tested, pull the new files. And as soon as that was up and working in the load balancer, it would sunset the old one. So there's a lot of opportunities for interesting uses here with webhooks. So I'm curious how you would use this in your environment. So please drop me a comment. I'm really always interested to see like new use cases folks are finding for these things. But if you have any questions or comments, you would do this different, you would tweak it, you would tune it, let me know. If you would like some help with your automation, please reach out to us. We're here and available for you. We also have some other interesting tools surrounding automation. So let us help you along your journey. Happy automating, happy web hooking, and we'll see you next time. Bye.